Welcome to the new Overlords Podcast, where we talk about video games, news, and what's fun. I'm Max. Arr! And with me is a buccaneer whose wit is as sharp as her cutlass, my co-host, Sema. Hello there, Sema. Why don't you tell those scurvy dogs out there why I'm talking like a pirate?
I have no earthly idea why you're talking like
I was going to do the whole thing, but then I forgot, but then I just ran with it. And then I'm not going to start over so I could do more pirate talk. And then I forgot how to talk like a pirate when I started talking like a pirate. But now I've got it again. Arr. Avast
Yes.
me hearties. This is the new Overlords Podcast.
I think it's because we're going to touch on Skull and Bones.
Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones, my friends. Yes, we are. We're going to talk about that a little bit today. I played it a lot, like 25 hours at least. So yeah, and had a lot of fun with it. And we will talk about that. We will talk about that and what else we've been playing. And that's not the only thing I played this week. In fact, I streamed 2 other things, but I am not a streamer. That is that's my new tagline. I'm not a streamer. I'm just streaming for like 10 hours this week, but I'm not a streamer. So that is a thing. But we're streaming right now again. But this is not streaming. This is podcasting.
Right. We're not streaming because there's no bits and cheers and.
Yeah.
Bet you didn't see this coming!
There's just drop-ins and fun things like that. This is podcasting. So let's talk about the news.
Good news, everyone.
Well, what did we have, Sema, for Star Wars: The Old Republic this week? We had a pretty fun
first things
death
first.
stream,
Yeah,
didn't
so
we?
we had the team at Broadsword did a live stream this week. It was to cover things that are coming in 7.4.1, which is coming pretty soon. They didn't give a date, but yeah, they said targeting in March. Jackie
Spring.
also made.
Did they say March or did they just say spring?
I'm pretty sure they said March.
Maybe they did. Yeah, maybe they did say March, which leads me to
Spring is what they said for 7.5.
So you lead us through, talk about what they talked
They
about, but
didn't
then I will
actually
ask you at the end.
They didn't actually say spring for 7.5. They said, when is 7.5 coming? And then they said the word spring in other sentences, like 3 times. Anyway, yeah, so the biggest thing for me anyway, coming up in 7.4.1 is the return of, not the return, but the next Galactic Seasons, which will be Galactic Season 6. It's called Building a Foundation, and there's going to be a stronghold that you can earn through the reward track of the Galactic Seasons, and it's a Comparo stronghold, and on the live stream, they showed it, and it is really beautiful. And the way you get the stronghold is through the story missions in the reward track. So the first story mission is at level 1, and you'll get the stronghold right away. Then the next story mission is at level 15, and the one after that is level 40. So just overall, if you're a subscriber, you'll get, well, let's put it the other way around. If you're free to play, you'll get 3 rooms from the reward track. If you're a subscriber, you'll get 6 rooms. And then there's a final 3 rooms that you can buy with cartel coins.
And was it confirmed that it's only cartel coins for the final 3 rooms, or
that is what they said.
Okay.
I wonder if they'll change that though.
Yeah, that's all they. Well, yeah. Okay. We'll have to see.
They didn't make a big deal of it. They didn't say, "Oh, this is a change." So maybe they didn't mean it that way.
And to be clear, if you're a subscriber, you're also getting a bunch of cartel coins from the reward track, also.
Yeah.
Which may be enough to unlock all of it. Right there.
Yeah, could be. We're going to be helping the Enrokini Chiss family that a lot of people are familiar with from having run the Comparo Flashpoint. Apparently, it's one of the ones that people run over and over and over again. So they're very familiar with it. There's going to be new.
Do they?
I think so. Yeah.
I mean,
The
It's
chat room was going nuts when they said Capero because they started repeating some of the conversations that happened in the Flashpoint over and over again.
interesting.
Like, yeah,
I mean, I've rarely run it. I like it. It's pretty cool, but it's a little bit of a longer one, and I've rarely run it except when it's like come up as an objective for some reason.
so one of the things that they're doing, which is a little bit of a twist, is the Stronghold itself is going to be a hub for the story missions. So once you open up the Stronghold in the beginning, there's going to be an NPC in there that I guess you interact with to get the other story missions, which is kind of a cool idea.
Yeah, you can see them standing around. That this is where they pointed them out.
Yeah.
Which I think it's a great setting for and a twist to not have just like another companion. Sure, shake it up, and I think this was a good way to go. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that because I wish they would have given a companion in 5 and 6 because then I would have 2 more level 50 companions on Shea Vizsla.
Oh, yeah, that's
'Cause
right.
yeah. So anyway, you showed it on the screen here, but they're offering a utility bundle, which means like your cargo hold, your legacy cargo, guild cargo hold, like GTN, mailbox, the station where you can customize your looks. Those are all utilities, and that's in the utility bundle. And they have one that's especially designed for Capero, and it's really cool looking. But they also use that as a way of pointing out that the existing utility bundle is also getting a facelift. So it's getting moved to some of the new graphic effects. So it's going to look just that much cooler. And if you already have the bundle, then it's obviously going to get the new facelift automatically.
I was really happy about that. And in fact, when they were talking about it, no, this was actually like the week before. They must have like gotten into my brain or triggered it somehow. Um, I was saying I wish they would they would update some of this stuff, some of the old decorations, or give us like different
Mhm.
things to put in our existing strongholds. The fact that they just reskinned them and tuned them up a little bit, that's not exactly what I was thinking. I was thinking give us different ones. But I mean that alone is
I
great
mean,
and
they
fun.
kind of did both. They did give us different
Oh,
ones.
and well, they gave us the second set. No, you're right. You are right.
Yeah.
I guess I'm glossing over that part. I like this in the context. I guess I glossed over that because I like this in the context of the new Copero stronghold.
Right. Or
But
like
I
I
won't
probably
like it
would.
in
Yeah.
my Mech
I
Shah
probably
stronghold.
won't. Right. I won't stick it in my Nar Shaddaa stronghold. But I'm looking forward to the Capero stronghold, and I'm wondering if that might be my like I have always used my Nar Shaddaa stronghold as my main one for no particular good reason. I guess it's kind of convenient because you can use it to get to Nar Shaddaa, and you always want to get to Nar Shaddaa for something, right?
Yeah,
Um,
it's a good
but I
one,
wonder, yeah,
and it was
and
early, so you probably decorated
yeah,
it up
well,
back in the day.
Um, but moving on from the stronghold, they also showed us a couple of new metallic die packs. The red pink one, which will be on the cartel market till it's on there now, and it'll be on the cartel market until Leap Day, so February 29th. So
So that was kind of like a little nod
up
to
top,
Valentine's Day
yep.
because the stream was on Valentine's Day.
And the other one is a green gold metallic die
Yes.
pack, and that's going to be available in March. So I'm assuming it's going to be around St. Patrick's Day and around when 7.4.1 comes.
Yes. So there now let's take this as the moment to guess
Yeah.
guess the date. Do our date guesses. So
Yes.
let me see. So they were just saying March, you're right. The looking at this armor set and thinking about this, I immediately said St. Patrick's Day. So
Yes. I wanted it to
which
be St.
is what?
Patrick's Day. But St.
But
Patrick's Day is a Sunday, which means it kind of
Sunday
has
the
to
17th.
be before St. Patrick's Day or after St. Patrick's Day.
So
So
either the
I
12th or the
personally,
19th. Yeah.
yeah, I'm going to go before St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah, okay, I'll go with you on that. I'll go with you on that. It's not that big of an update. They probably ready, and having it before so they could lead into that St. Patrick's Day weekend, I think would be really fun. So the 12th.
Yeah. So a couple other things that they announced on the cartel market were 2 new armor sets, the Prime Centurion and the Gothic Master Armor. And the reason I'm mentioning them is, to me, the Gothic Master Armor looks really cool. Now, this is the other one that, and Eric was saying, oh, he just loves this one, and that's the one that makes everyone think of the Roman Empire. But I love this one, the black on black, and
I'll show that one in just a second too. But I agree. I kind of like the Roman Centurion one better as well. And I did amuse myself, and I'm still laughing at myself because I said, I love this armor set. I was just thinking about the Roman Empire.
Right.
And then I said, last month called and wants their meme back.
That was really interesting. They showed the die packs on these armor sets, and even though the Gothic Master Armor is basically completely black, it is separated out into primary and secondary. So when you preview it with a die, you can see where the secondary colors go.
Yeah, that's cool.
So are you gonna dye one of your armors red and pink?
Am I going to?
Yeah.
I don't dye my armors. My Mandalorian could look great in the red and pink, but the black and red that I just put on it looks amazing. So I would be loath to replace that.
Right. That would be a hard move to make.
In fact, I'm liking it so much, I'm starting to adopt black and red as my color scheme in other games.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
It's like the color I'm trying to dress up as. I've always sort of been more like the gray and blue.
Right.
But the black and red, I'm really starting to like.
I was been sort of a black and red person for a while.
See, doesn't this look so good on the Centurion set too? Even the pink looks good on the Centurion set.
Yeah.
But you said, did they show it on this set too?
Yeah, they showed it on the Gothic Master Armor.
There we go. Oh, you're right. Wow, that does dye up great.
Yeah.
Wow, they did a really great job on making that dyeable. I do like that green and gold. And I like the way they're doing all of these new dyes. It's great that they were able to engineer that into the engine.
I thought about that too, Stask. I'm wondering what it looks like with the new white gold. And I was logging in. I was going to try and preview, but this is not on that armor isn't on the cartel market yet, so I couldn't do it. Yeah.
Like a white knight kind of deal.
Yeah.
Although, if you look here, I don't know, because some of the parts still say black, stay black, but still. So it would be like white on the parts that are red.
Yeah, it'd be black and gold with some white. I think it could be good.
Still, it could be really good.
I just want to mention before we leave the cartel market that there is a category sale going on. Not sure what they mean by category sale, except that it's worth checking the cartel market every day, because until the 29th, there's always something that's like 90% off.
Oh, right. Was the Fractal 90% off today?
No.
Okay.
That was a regular flash sale, so that was 50%. I think it was 50% off. But like the 90% off is like some decos and some armor, and I think that's what they meant by category. So the two categories are maybe decos and armor, but just check it out.
Cool.
Also coming very soon, like next week, is the start of the new PvP season.
Yes, Stask.
Pirates Plunder, which is the real reason why you were speaking like a pirate earlier.
Yes. Our Stask will be starting his PvP nights on Wednesday nights. You too can join us, you scurvy dogs.
There's going to be 2 armor sets as rewards. So I'm assuming one is for, a lot of PvP, and the other one is for a staggering amount of PvP. And then there's 2 titles too. One is a character title, and one is a legend. Legacy title.
Yeah, and this is the way they do them. I'm not all that jazzed about the armor sets this time around, but they could be starting. The way they did the last 3 PvP seasons was they did an armor set, and then they like amped up that armor set to to 10 for the second of the seasons, and then for the third season they ramped it up to 11. I wonder if that's what they're going to do with this too, because this one I think is so. Not bad, not terrible, but not great. And maybe dyed it would look better.
It wasn't
This
on
mustard
fire.
dye doesn't look great. But they also did the same thing that they've done in the other seasons, where the Cunning Plunderer is the one that you'll get up to rank 16. And then if you go all the way to 25, you'll get the Outlaw Battler set, which is the Cunning Plunderer set with extra accents and the glowy bits, and it looks cooler. So I think that's a fine way
Yeah,
to
and
do it.
so there's also new stuff on the vendor, which I assume, does that mean that you have to have achieved a certain rating or honor or reward track something to be able to purchase stuff off the vendor?
You accumulate PvP tokens, and they're few and far between, but as you progress through the season, you accumulate PvP tokens, and then you can use those PvP tokens to buy things off of the vendor that mostly have come from previous PvP seasons. Some of the really great stuff, like the Furious weapon set, that the weapons that are on fire, they're very expensive, which means you need to PvP a lot to get enough tokens to buy those things, which is only fair because the people that got those rewards back in the day PvP'd quite a bit, like an insane amount to get those back in the day. It wasn't just like a reward track. It was, you had to like win. You had to be one of the top ranked players to get that stuff. But yeah, so putting more stuff on those vendors is still fun. And you
They
can
did
get
specifically
anything.
say that there's going to be, well, and I think they showed a couple of armor sets that are going to be
showing
on the
stuff.
vendor, and they did show some pretty epic decos of these statues that were pretty epic looking. Yeah, like that one on the lower right. But then they did comment that they're not showing everything that you're going to be able to get with those tokens.
Cool. All right, so maybe more cool, fun stuff. Tell me about date night. I can't wait.
So the next
But
section
I think it's fine.
was Caitlin and Ashley. So Caitlin is the lead writer and Ashley's the narrative director. Talking about a new narrative feature, which is date night. And what basically date night is going to be, it's like a weekly, you can repeat it weekly. So you can play it over and over again if you want to. But it's a cinematic only mission, and it's designed to give players some personal time with their love interest. And at first, there's only going to be 4 characters that are available. And they picked these 4 because they wanted them to be that are playable by any class and by any gender.
I'm laughing, and I'm so on date night. I take it or leave it. Maybe I'll try it. I'm not all interested personally, but these guys were so pleased with themselves and so happy, and that was so fun. This whole stream, I didn't start it off that way, but this whole stream, everybody, Eric and Jackie and Ashley and Caitlin and Keith, everybody was having a blast. They looked so happy, so pleased with themselves, having so much fun, so happy with what they produced, like they're doing what they want, and who cares what you want? Yeah. This is the most fun that they've had in years, I feel like, and I'm there for them. I will, double down and support them 100% if they want to do date nights for the rest of the year because they're so pleased with it. I think it's wonderful.
You're going to be able to somehow earn a reward, but the reward is like a memento of your date night with your companion. So it's not like you have to
loot.
Play this. Oh, come on, Max. Not like you have to play this in order to get something that you're going to use in some other part of the game. It's just a memento of your date.
Well, now you've got my interest.
So the 4 that they've starting with are Lana Benico, which is a great choice. I mean, Lana is such a strong character.
She is great.
She has been our steadfast ally since Shadow of Revan, really.
Yeah.
Like during Shadow, at least at the beginning of Shadow of Revan, I think we weren't sure about her, but she's actually had our back this whole time, really. There's Koth Fortina, who I know is not the most popular of characters, and a lot of players have killed him, so that's unfortunate.
Only because some of the plot elements. Otherwise, he's pretty cool, but
Although let me say with they did say that with Lana on your date, you're going to play a game of Dejarik, and that she's very strategic and smart. So
Yeah.
I think they're setting you up for the fact that she's going to win the game. And in case of Koth, you're going to go to Nar Shaddaa and meet some of his buddies and maybe learn something about his life on Zakul. And she also said, Caitlin said that she put a little something in this story that was something that happened with her and her husband. So it's little real life tidbit that
personal
she put in.
inspiration.
Yeah. Arcan, the date night is going to be a fight, like a sparring thing.
Yeah, a little, yeah.
I get that.
Because that's how he communicates through,
Yeah.
through
that's
contest.
how he flirts. Come here. Let's
contest
fight.
and violence.
And then the fourth one is Theron Shan, who I also feel is a strong character. In my notes, I just put that the date was going to be on Meksha. I didn't really.
Is it? I'm looking behind him, and it looks like it's in a Meksha cantina. Can you have a platonic date with Theron at the cantina? I want to go in with Theron.
I wonder because, yeah, they did say that that the date nights were meant to be fun and charming.
I mean, I'll go have a drink in the cantina with Theron.
Yeah.
I'll go have a drink with anybody.
And the way you'll have access to what it's not clear to me, first of all, the way you have access to them is going to be an Alliance alert. I don't know if the Alliance alert only triggers if you have previously romanced them. I literally don't know.
Yeah.
So I personally haven't romanced any of these characters, so I'll be able to tell whether you can get them. And then they also said they said that their goal is to have 1 or 2 companion missions released alongside Galactic Seasons. So I think since they've gotten really good at their ability to match what they say about content delivery with content delivery, they might be saying, okay, this is a goal that we can meet. 1 or 2 companion stories with every Galactic season.
Yeah.
I mean, that gives them a few months to do each one. So,
and it's a reasonable target, and they have been, as you're sort of suggesting, they have been really good about being on track like clockwork with the seasons, with the PvP seasons, and now we're like going on the 4th of all of these iterations, and they're still doing it. And that's for any dev team, that's good.
I mean, Forrester's pointing out, I'm sure that like Kira and Mako and all the other like super popular ones will be last.
Yeah, we'll see. Well, I mean, everyone will have there will be some subset of favorites. Skadge, I mean, everybody's going to want to date Skadge, so Skadge is not romanceable at the moment, I don't think. Everybody just wants to kill Skadge.
Yeah, I don't think he is either. So after they talked about the date night feature, and the reason they called it a narrative feature is it's like a new feature. It's going to be repeatable, and I think evergreen too, your favorite term, because I don't think this is like the 4 that we start with. I don't think they're going to go away necessarily when new ones come. So
yeah.
They also showed a cosplay kit.
Yep.
And what a cosplay kit is a really close-up look at the assets that make up a character's iconic outfit. So if you're a cosplayer and you want to build a Cafortina or a Lana Benico outfit, you can look at these cosplay kits and you can see angles of the things, and also they give the numbers, the hex numbers for the colors, and they give you ideas of what the materials are, so that you can build these cosplay costumes if that's what you're into.
I literally burst out loud laughing.
Yep.
in my house when Eric popped into frame. He put the Arkan half mask on his face and just like leaned into frame while they were talking. Like Jackie didn't even notice, I don't think. Caitlin was trying not to crack up, and that was the funniest part. And there were multiple funny parts of them doing funny things. Jackie with her fan in the beginning, She
Yeah.
snuck a fan in. Eric, asked her, I guess, before the stream. He said during the stream, he's like, I asked her if she had a fan, and she said no. And she did. She still popped one out. She's like, oh, I just found it in my pocket. And then at the end, Keith was goofing around with Eric. So,
Right.
again, just such fun. Guys, do what you want. I'm there. Let's
Yep.
do it.
Then they did do a little thing about the Shea Vizsla server, and this was Eric and Keith, and they talked about when the transitions, they are going to open up not transitions, character transfers to Shea Vizsla. Eric mentioned that the joke reason for the timing of it is they were going to open them when Keith got to legendary status, but actually, apparently, he did that like weeks ago.
Right.
But they did say that their two goals, and their two goals that they want to keep in mind while they're doing this is A, that actual APAC players have a way to get their characters there, and B, that they don't want to cause any big jolts to the economy. So that's what they're kind of juggling when they come up with these things. So there are going to be requirements / restrictions, and one is that your character has to be at least level 20. Like, you can't just roll up a character, load them down with stuff, and send them over to Shea Vizsla. Character has to be level 20. Your character can have up to 15 million credits on them.
Yep.
Like
Which it was going to be 2 million, and they bumped it up to 15.
And they bumped it up. So that's what's, yes. So like, these might still change because, as feedback comes in, they might still slide the, dial back and forth a little bit. So there's a kind of complicated thing around the cost of it. So like, if you are as a subscriber and you've been subscribed since the beginning of January of this year, you can transfer up to 16 characters for free if you do it within the first month.
Yep.
And the way they came up with 16 was like, if you had
one of each advanced class.
Yeah, one of each advanced class, both sides, right?
Yep. Yeah.
If you're a subscriber and you haven't been subscribed since January 2nd, or you didn't do it in the first 30 days, then you have 90 days to do it for a 50% discount.
Yeah.
And then after the 90 days, or free to play players who want to do it now, or when they open up anyway, it's going to be the normal cost. So the normal cost is 1,000 cartel coins. So 50% would be 500.
All seems reasonable to me.
Yeah.
Seems like a fine way to do it for any game to sort of do it this way.
They made the comment that they might slide the dial. However, their goals are not. The requirements might change up a little bit now, but the goals are still the same. To make it so that APAC players can get there, and to not mess up the economy if that's possible. Then they did move into a little bit of a tease about 7.5. They commented, they didn't really comment this, but maybe coming in spring. That's me reading into Eric, he started bouncing up and down and saying spring a lot while saying it, Anyway, I just read that into it. It's called Desperate Defiance. Like this one took us to Ord Mantell, Desperate Defiance will take us to Hutta.
Which is interesting.
We're going to see Lane Vizsla's story yield something. They use the word fruition.
Which I assume means it'll end and you'll get whatever it's going to be, whether it's a pet or a companion. It was sort of a long-running narrative thing. And for people that aren't familiar in Star Wars The Republic, you do have the companions, and we have lots of them, and you can switch them out. You have one at a time. But there's like robot ones, there's story ones that are like characters that you came across that you can like recruit, but there's like robot ones that you can buy off of the cartel market. And I think Lane Vizsla is building us one.
I think it's going to be a non-combat companion.
You think it's going to be non-combat companion? Non-combat companion?
Yeah, a pet.
Like a pet.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think Eric used the terms adorable and terrifying.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a companion, but...
Well, you're welcome to think that.
You said that like you were saying, "You're welcome to be wrong."
That is how I said that.
Feel free.
Then they
to-
said something when I was rewatching it today that I totally missed when it was the first time, is that there is going to be a new spring event. What they mean by spring event is something like Life Day or Feast of Prosperity, that level
Yeah.
of event, and it's going to be in the spring.
Yes.
So
Okay. And I was wrong about this because I of where this came in the dev stream. I was thinking that spring event would have been a St. Patrick's Day thing, but this isn't going to come out until a couple months
yeah,
after.
yeah,
This
this
is
is
going to be
part of
like
7.5.
May, June timeframe.
Right.
So it's not going to be a
Well,
St. Patrick's Day thing.
right. So, yeah. So in my notes, I put like character. I mean, they didn't give a date for 7.5, and this is where Keith got all cheeky because he says we don't have a date for 7.5, and Keith said, "Well, but I know what it is."
Yeah. And acted like he was going to blab it on stream just to
And then
freak
Eric,
out his marketing people who are in the
right,
room.
and Eric says, "Yes, but Keith can't tell you." And Keith said, "Well, I could."
Keith walking that edge and making
But
everybody clench up.
you kind of had to read his lips because he was whispering. But I did. I read his lips. But anyway, so I think we're going to see 7.5 in the spring.
Yeah. Okay.
Just based on some behaviors of Eric's when he was talking about it. So
Well, and it's
7.4.1.
it's coming with a spring event, so they can't have a spring event in the summer.
Yeah.
So it's got to be like, first week in June or sooner. Because June 21st technically is the end of spring.
Well, Forster just said if he's guessing it's May 2nd, but as long as we're going to guess May 2nd, we might as well guess May the 4th.
Oh, good point. Good point. May the 4th. May the 4th be with you always.
But we'll know more soon because the 7.5 live stream will quote unquote not be that long after the release of 7.4.1.
Yeah. Cool. So fun stuff. We'll keep track of it. We'll talk about it more when it comes out. And as soon as 7.5, which I'm more interested in than even 7.4.1, as you'd expect with a full decimal point, full tenth of a release instead of 100th.
I mean,
Yeah,
date night
looking
is
forward to it.
huge for a .1, though.
Yeah. Oh, there's plenty of stuff in there. I'm not downplaying
This is
that.
like getting. Remember when we got the HK55 chapter? This is like sort of like getting 4 of those, even though that had gameplay in it. But yeah.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
What else, Max?
What else is going on? What else is going on in the world of games?
What's going on?
Something that happened yesterday that we will talk about more in the future. And by the future, I mean next week. We'll probably spend the main deep dive of the podcast on Nightingale. So Nightingale Early Access is now available. I've already played it probably for about 8 hours or so. I streamed it, although I am not a streamer. I streamed it for most of that time because new games I really like streaming because then other people can chime in and tell me what I'm doing wrong and tell me you missed a thing or here's a tip. I like that.
Right.
So we'll talk about it more next week. I don't need to get into it. I took a bunch of video of the things that I did in the character creator. I've got my ideas of pros and cons, but it is fun and it's much deeper. I'm playing right now on stream the gameplay trailer. I would encourage anyone that's mildly interested to look up the gameplay trailer. I played this in alpha and in their stress test. And now early access is out and everybody can play it. It's actually on sale right now. You do have to buy in. But their retail price is $30 and it's on for 10% off. And they kind of just came out and said, which I thought was a really cool thing. They said, why is it only $30? Because there's a lot of games to play and there's a lot of games out there. And we know, people have limited budgets. We think, we want to get it out there. And we think that's fair.
I think they really want this game to have legs.
I think it's got a lot more depth than I had expected. So when I watched through this gameplay trailer, after having played it for hours in the, as I said, in the beta and the stress test, barely scratched the surface. And you can see there's so much more depth and so much more that you're going to be able to do. I think it has the opportunity to have a lot of legs. So we'll see. So more on that next week. We'll probably also stream it again. And I say maybe me, maybe Sema. We'll see on Monday as well. Again, for the new game Monday that we do once in a while. But I'm not a streamer. What else?
I have to say I'm more interested in it after seeing this extended gameplay trailer than I was when I was watching you run around.
Because I'm boring.
Well, I think
no, it's the early game.
I think I'm not gonna like the early game. I think I'm gonna not like it till I can get fancy houses and fancy dresses and flying around with my umbrella.
It is a lot of the survival games are kind of that way. The early game is different, very different than from the late game. And I'm still playing a bunch of Ark. We'll talk about that and what I've been playing lately. The early game, very, very different from the late game. And it does make it a challenge if you don't like the early game. I really do in all survival games. I like that starting from nothing and building up. But if you don't like that and you want more of the features and you sort of want to play like the fully fleshed out, I want the laser gun. I want the jetpack, which you get at Ark after having played for 50 hours or 100 hours. Well, it's hard. You got to get through all the other stuff. In a moddable game, maybe you can jump in the middle or towards the end. Nightingale, as it stands right now, is not moddable. There's no private servers, so you sort of take what you get so far. In Ark, you could start with the jetpacks and the laser beams and stuff. Also in the news, thought this was interesting. Just a little side thing to direct people to. Tom Ellis is a senior game producer for World of Warcraft. He put out basically quite a long blog post dissertation in 2 premium tweets on Twitter, which I thought was interesting in and of itself. We'll sort of skip over that. I didn't think it was the best. At first, I thought it was ridiculous that this such good content would be like slammed in these 2 really long tweets on Twitter. But then we were talking about this before the show today. Social networks are all garbage right now. Nobody is using any of them, and nobody goes to blog sites. And so if Tom's got like people and an audience here, and there's still, even though it's 1/10 of what it used to be, it's still 10 times more on Twitter than it is on any of the other social networks. So fine. Now I'm fine with Tom putting this out here. Anyway, what did Tom put out for us, Sema?
So he talked about, I think what spurred him to make this post in the first place is that seasoned Discovery players are complaining about layering and sharding.
Yes.
And so he put together, this is like not only like a timeline of how sharding came to be, which is fascinating all by itself. By the way, sharding is their tech for allowing a max number of players per CPU that the game CPU,
without having to have like separate servers.
Yeah.
And shunt people away and like have to have server transfers and close servers later. And so, yeah.
And I never, until I read these, and then when Classic became a thing, they introduced layering, which they were careful to say is not the same as sharding, which I didn't really get at all. But after reading this, I totally see. And it's because of how Classic is designed versus how the mainline game is designed now. So in the second part of the tweet, in the second long tweet, he talks about how layering works on top of sharding and why it's a problem in Season of Discovery and what their challenges are in fixing and what they're going to try to do to fix it. So I don't know, if that kind of thing sounds like a giant bore to you, then don't go and read these tweets. But if you're thinking, wow, I want to know more about that, he really jam packs a lot of information into these 2 tweets.
There is, and I love this stuff. And I know not everyone does, because we try to do this on our podcast from time to time. When behind the games, we would try to get into this. And not everybody wants to get into the nitty gritty of development networking and stuff, but I do. So Tom, if you're listening, which I know you're not, but if you want to come on the show and do an interview and sit with us and talk more about this, Sema and I will talk about it all day, because there was some great stuff in here. You're right. I like this. This defies credulity. Let me put it that way. The fact that was it Draenor, when things first started going bad,
because with
in a weekend is what he was saying.
One developer came up with sharding.
In a weekend. And I'm thinking this is a classic developer thing. I'm thinking it was like a little side project that somebody had been working on for a while, and then finally tied up some loose ends and got it out there. Because or maybe it was just some amazing miracle bit of development, but this is not a thing that a middle of the life cycle of World of Warcraft that you just do in a weekend. This is huge networking, layering. Okay,
there's a lot of info in this post, but it is a lot of history in basically 2 or 3 pages of text. So it's there's some necessary oversimplification, but it wasn't a feature of Warlords of Draenor. It was added to solve a problem
after it launched, the day after it launched.
Right. So it wasn't actually baked in as a feature until Legion.
Yeah.
And another thing he says in here is just an added. He has a couple of comments in here that are just sort of design comments or attitude comments, where he says, because he's an engineer and his teams, he's a producer, but he's talking about engineering teams. It's their job to make things work the way the designers want them to work, which I thought was the designers say, here, I want this thing, and then the engineers have to make it work. It's not like the engineers are supposed to educate the designers and make sure they don't design something that won't work.
Right. Which
I'm sure it goes back and forth a little bit of both directions, but yeah.
Which is a really cool way to do it. And that's where you get some really innovative stuff to happen. It can be frustrating for the engineers. And you get this in the world of architecture and buildings as well. The architect is going to be it's going to be 50 stories tall and it's going to be all glass. We need to put some steel beams in, the engineers, we need to put some steel beams in to make, no, 100% glass. You can see all the way through the building. It's just all glass.
This is my vision.
What do you mean? Make it happen, engineer. So it could be frustrating for the engineers, but I think it's the design-led approach is where you get some really innovative stuff. And if you have to pull back, or you have to, there is some give and take, and there's some cycles that go back and forth around in there. But I love that. And I love that the engineering team is coming at it from that perspective and realizing that this is how great games are made, and is committing to that. It's bring it. What, you tell us, what do you want to do? We'll see what we can figure out. That's a really positive approach, as opposed to what you get in a lot of IT departments is the engineering team has teeth and makes it their, and puts the gates and the barriers in front of getting anything interesting done.
Right.
And is antagonistic to anything new and interesting, which is frustrating.
And when you have that, it kind of starts to permeate the whole culture. And then people, when they're trying to have an idea, they go, oh no, that'll never work, before they even know if it'll work.
And that's how you get third-party software just installed on people's desks, when the IT team doesn't know, because people are just trying to get their jobs done. And, in very big corporations, that's where you get skunkworks IT departments, which are really fun, but also amazingly inefficient and frustrating for a larger IT operation. But that's because they weren't doing their job. Anyway, Fun talk. Yeah. So Tom, come on. I would love to dig into this more.
Yes.
We will have some engineering talk. Two other minor things just to throw out there and round this out. Something that we were talking about quite a bit last week was Xbox, and there was a little bit of a follow-up this week. Phil Spencer doing a little bit of follow-up saying Xbox is not going all digital just yet. I will not rant. I will not rant about how the internet is terrible. Why does every discussion forum have to have a contest to race to have the worst possible take on everything that everyone says? This happened multiple times this week where I've now committed to being off of not reading any comment thread on anything. It happened when Mark Zuckerberg announced that they're working on tech to read your nervous system, basically, so we can do hand tracking much more accurately. Every single comment in multiple discussion forums across the internet just talked about how useless and terrible it is, and Mark Zuckerberg's a dodo head. What, you guys, I mean, there's like tech forums. You guys hate technology? Same thing happened with Adobe putting large language models into their documents so that you can ask questions of a document. You've got like 200 pages of legal brief, and you can ask questions of it, and people are like, "Oh, people can't read anymore. This is how knowledge dies." Zero positive comments about these really potentially useful things. Well, here's another one. Xbox won't go all digital yet. Well, I didn't realize that we were making analog games. I play my games on vinyl. No positive comments about this whatsoever. No positive comments that they're not going digital. No positive comments about going digital or not. All he's saying is this is the state of where things are. The industry is not ready for consoles to not have physical media discs just yet. It probably will go that way because he does make the point that consoles are one of the last places that have not gone digital download only. And he's talking about digital download, not digital versus analog.
Right.
Actually. So although I did just rant about how the internet is wrong on all of this, I thought that was a really reasonable take and a little bit of a follow-up to what he's been talking about. I'm perfectly fine. And I think we are naming this episode Skull and Bones as a Service. We'll talk a little bit about games as a service as part of the Skull and Bones stuff, but I'm ready for it. I'm ready for all digital, I think. Except I still want the DVD player in my Xbox. I do play DVDs once in a while still.
Because you play movies.
But even that's rare these days because all new movies that I buy, I'm buying in a digital library. Or playing off of Netflix, or playing off of Prime.
Yep.
So maybe I'm ready for it everywhere, Sema.
I'm ready for it.
My body is ready.
I was an early adopter of getting rid of my CDs.
That's the way to go. Because we want to divest ourselves of all worldly possessions before we walk the earth like Chai Kwan Kane.
That's why I admire so much that you have stuff from your old lives, because I just purge every once in a while. But you have things that you cherish. You manage to hold on to them.
I do have a couple physical things. That's more a flaw in my inability to throw things away. I will if there is a good way to recycle things, I'm all in on that. But I'm not going to take a monitor and throw it in the garbage. I'm not going to take an old PC and throw it in the garbage. So it's few and far between that I can find a good place to recycle some of this stuff. So I've ended up keeping some of it. And then then later on I've been like,
I'm glad I still have this.
Throw it on the shelf. I got my Commodore 64 out here. And I'm glad I kept that because that was that's what
Piece of history.
made me. Yeah. But yeah. All right. Last night news item. Tetsemi turned us on to this. Palia, which is a game that we talked about and played before, it's coming to Steam Deck on March 25th. So that's fun.
Yeah, it is.
I think that's a really good place for it. I think they'll probably get there as well. I don't think they're there yet. The Switch is a really good place for it too. So I'm sure they'll end up there. Okay. Thanks, everyone. This podcast is brought to you by all of you out there. Thanks for listening, subscribing, all that kind of stuff. Thanks to the chat room. Bunch of great people out there in the chat room. Jackie, community manager for Star Wars The Old Republic, chiming in today. Us gushing over the fun that we see you guys having in Star Wars The Old Republic. I think that's really, really awesome. If you need anything from us, newoverlords.com has all of the links. Jump in our Discord. That's a fun place to come talk to us. Also, our guild is a fun place as well. So this is where Sema and I play a big chunk of our games, especially the MMOs, and that's Alea Iacta Est. We started on Earthen Ring in World of Warcraft. We are on Starforge and on Shea Vizsla on Star Wars The Old Republic, but a whole bunch of MMOs too. And then you can get everything there, including the Discord, which is the great place to get in contact with us and get into all of those guilds. It's all open to anybody who's sort of like family-friendly, fun people. AIE-guild.org for that. All right, Sema, listen to this.
Your infamy continues to rise. Soon all will shiver in your wake.
Soon all will shiver in your wake.
He really sounded like a pirate.
That's John Skurlock. So this is Skull and Bones. Where's my video on Skull and Bones that we can be playing while we're talking about it? So Skull and Bones. I've been playing a ton of Skull and Bones, and I like it. It's getting mid reviews from everybody, and we could talk about what some of the downsides and flaws are. But overall, I played it quite a bit. I played it when it was open beta, like a week and a half ago. And then I played it enough in open beta that I was almost done with it. I almost said, "Hey, this is really fun and good." But maybe I played enough of it that I'm good for now. And then I decided, no, I kind of want to keep going. I'm having enough fun that I want to pay money to keep playing this game, which I'm sure is what they were going for. So let's talk about a little bit of the like where it came from, why it was fun, why it's still fun. Is it a game that you're the only game you're going to play and you're going to live in here for the next 10 years? I don't know why games need to be that, and if they're not that, they're a failure. There seems to be a little bit of a feeling that that's the case in the way games are sort of talked about and reviewed these days. Like, if there's not a long enough end game that's going to keep me interested for the next 10 years, then the game is a failure. If it's not as good as every other game that came before it that's anything like it, then the game is a failure. Yes, there was very high expectations for this, although you could say those expectations were definitely tempered in the last couple of years. Everybody actually expected it to be a complete train wreck and fail. And that's probably been good for them because it has been in development since 2013. So it started in 2013, and it started as the idea came from Assassin's Creed Black Flag. So Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag was sort of an expansion to Assassin's Creed where you took your Assassin's Creed character where you're an assassin, you're jumping on the rooftops and assassinating people, and really fun gameplay. It's a little more arcadey gameplay, but open world, and you're running around and jumping on these rooftops, and there's story that goes along with it. And they added in this Black Flag edition where you got to also, in addition to in the port town still doing a bunch of that assassin-y stuff, you got some boats, you got some pirate ships, and you got to do some of that piratey kind of thing too. And everybody kind of not everybody, but a lot of people, some people didn't like it and didn't review it well, but a lot of people really liked it and had a lot of fun with it. So this, what I'm showing on the screen here, this is Assassin's Creed Black Flag. And it's still really good. You have people actually going back now because this Skull and Bones came out and going back and playing Black Flag and saying, oh, this is actually pretty fun. And it does a bunch of things that Skull and Bones does not do. But what Skull and Bones took as inspiration was the ships part. The pirate ships, playing with the pirate ships, having ship battles, where the ship is your character. That's what they decided to build a game around for Skull and Bones. And were they successful? I think they were. And if you come at it from that perspective, that this is not an open world pirate game where you're going to run around swashbuckling with swords, and when you plunder a port, you're going to jump into the port and you're going to fight a bunch of people and you're going to have pistols. You're going to be dual wielding pistols. It's not that. There isn't that kind of land fighting game. You do dismount in the ports. The ports, though, are for like the quest hubs and vendors and a little bit of story, a little bit of exploration. Like you get a treasure map, you're going to have to wander around in some of the ports to try to find where that treasure is buried based on looking with your eyeballs at the map. But the ships is the game. And that's what I had fun with. I had fun with the ship. And you start out with like a little ship, and then you get bigger ships, and you got to go and...
How do you get the bigger ships? Is it by taking them from other...
No, you don't capture any ships. What you do, you can capture equipment from other ships when you kind of like loot them. And there's different ways to... If you blow up a ship, you get one set of loot. When the ship gets down to like 10%, if you execute a boarding maneuver, which is just being in the right position and pressing a button and making sure your hooks go in, and then you get like a little digital cutscene, you get a little bit of extra loot. And that's when you can get like weapons and equipment off of the ships that you're plundering. But otherwise, you're unlocking blueprints. And some of those are unlocked through story. Some of those are unlocked through reputation, and then you buy them off a vendor. There's different kinds of currencies to buy those ships. And once we get into like seasons and the end game, there'll be ships that are available that way too. But you get a blueprint, and then you have to collect the materials to build your ship. Some people might think that that's a boring part of the game, is the collecting of materials. I kind of had a lot of fun with it. And some of it you're like flying around and there's like boards floating in the ocean, and you just press F as you sail over them and pick them up. Not terribly interesting. But that's just one way. And after you get through, and then the second way is you're like sailing close to the coast, and you see some glittering rocks on the shore, and as you sail close, you can hit F to start the mini game to mine those rocks. You have a set of tools, and as you upgrade those tools, they get better and better. And then you do the little mini game to click when the thing gets in the right zone, to click it 3 times in the right zone, and you mine the rocks. That's step 2. The most fun way to go and get those resources, and this is where I had a bunch of fun, is you just sail your boat around and you use your spyglass, and you look and you say, like, off in the distance, oh, there's one of those corporation, the Dutch mining company, and they're all bad guys. The corporations are all bad. So the people, it's pirates fighting against the corporations, or pirates fighting against other pirates. I thought the sea people were pretty cool, so I didn't plunder them all that much.
Only a little. I only lightly plundered them.
Yeah. But if you see a ship, it will also tell you the kind of stuff that ship carries. Oh, there's a Dutch merchant ship, and it's carrying iron bars, typically. And you're not guaranteed that you're going to get them off of there, but you can say, I need iron bars. I'm going to go plunder. I'm going to go sink that ship. So that's the more fun way to go and get those resources and find them. And then if you look at the overview map, it shows you the trade routes. And the trade routes will say, this is a trade route where ivory and copper bars tend to tend to be transported. So then you sail over to that area, and the ships in that area who are sailing that trade route, and you can go and plunder those ships. So you get the materials that you need. You go to the different vendors. There's like a blacksmith who will like make the weapons for you. There's a carpenter who makes furniture, which is another attachment for your ship, which gives you secondary bonuses and abilities. And then there's the shipwright, and you give them the materials to build your ship. You go to the blacksmith and get your weapons. And again, weapons are kind of fun and different. You can mix cannons with like mortars, which sort of like drop a target on the water, and they can even be like AoE. You can like be spraying fire out the front of your ship. So some fun weapons. And then the furniture is like, makes your good, a grinder, a grinder for your torpedoes, so your torpedoes go faster. So you attach the grinder as furniture into the furniture slot of your ship. And there's various different kinds of furniture additions. And there's grades of them too. There's legendary, common, advanced, legendary, that kind of thing. So it feels kind of RPG-ish, but your ship is your character. Now you have your physical character, and you saw me running around in the port. You do create a physical character when you start. The one thing I really liked about that was your physical character is very cosmetic, and there's a bunch of cosmetics for your ship as well, but your physical character is pretty much only cosmetic. And they allow you to create your character, and the initial character creator, when you start the game, isn't that great. It doesn't like you change your body type or you set your body type, but that doesn't even like let you zoom out and see kind of what you look like. But the reason for that is kind of because it doesn't matter. Just dump a character out there. As soon as you get in game, within like 5 minutes, you can go to the atelier. It's a French word, but the cosmetic place. And the woman says, go to town, and any cosmetic changes to your body, your skin, your hair, all of that, free, open, just change as much as you want.
I like that.
Yeah. Isn't that, I mean,
I've never liked the idea that you have to spend 2 hours in the character creation, to get what you want before you even know how to play the game.
Yeah. Especially when those messages come up at the end of it is, this cannot be changed once you leave the screen. You are locked into looking like this idiot forever. It's like, really?
Yeah, I really, really like this. I hope all the games in the world adopt this.
Yeah. And then the second part of it is the stuff you wear. And you don't start out with very much, but whatever you've got, you can definitely wear whatever you want. You can change it whenever you want. And very quickly, you get some cool things. John Skurlock, whose voice we heard there, he gives you some stuff through that story, which happens relatively quick within the first hour or two. And then there's a bunch of cosmetic stuff you can get again through in-game currency and reputation and cash shop stuff, Twitch drops. So there's that angle to it too. This is a live service game, but still fun. And if you're gonna want to dress up your character, you do get to see yourself, and you are running around the port in third-person view. I think I showed it more here in the beginning. Yeah, here's me running around in the port, and I'm wearing something I think I got off I think it was an early a pre-order bonus, or it might have been a Twitch drop. It was a pretty cool duster, pretty cool coat though. And better than like the potato sack that I got when I first got into the game. So I started looking pretty good, pretty quick. I was pretty happy with it. But in the same way, I think you saw my ship here. This is my latest ship. It's the Pariwakang, is the type of ship that it is. But you get a bunch of cosmetics in the same way to unlock for your ship. Paint jobs for the sails, paint jobs for the body, different cosmetic attachments. It's hard to see here, but if you look close up, and maybe when I get into one of these fights, you'll see it closer. I've got like flaming cauldrons down the side of my ship, and I've got a skeleton on the prow, and I've got
oh yeah, that's cool.
When you zoom in and you see it when you first get into the ship, you have a little pet that like sits sits next to you in the helm of the ship. You have a different ship wheel that you can swap in and out, and then there's advanced versions of these, cash shop rewards for big missions, in-game currency, reputation rewards, Twitch drops again as well. The pattern you put on your sails. So again, very quickly, I had a lot of fun customizing my ship, making it look cool. I got this ship a little bit early because I found where I could get I knew I wanted a bigger ship. And in game, it'll tell you, hey, you don't have the the blueprint for this. And if you track the blueprint, it'll say, oh, this is where it's at. This is the port that it's at. And these are the people that sell it to you. So I sailed across the ocean. I sailed to the East Indies and tracked down where I could get both the blueprint probably a little bit earlier than I needed to, maybe just like a couple ship levels earlier. So it was a little bit dangerous for me to be sailing around there, could get blown up. But I tracked it down, and I tracked down the materials I need so I could build this ship, and I was pretty pleased with that. That was another fun part, right? Building my new ship, and then I outfitted it with some cool weapons, and I tried some different weapons. And here I'm doing a little mission where I had to, I'm doing some smuggling here. So this is more of the late game stuff. So in the early game, I still had fun, but it's more like doing some of the starting story, gathering some of the starting materials, picking stuff up off the ground kind of level of gathering. Then you're getting better stuff when you're plundering other ships. And then towards the late game, you start, and there's my ship getting blown up. The penalties for dying are relatively low, so that doesn't make it feel too bad when you blow up. You get a little bit of like permanent damage to your ship until you go to port and repair it. But I say permanent because you can respawn at sea and kind of keep going. But if you do that too many times, then your ship has too much permanent damage and you won't go. So you can see I've got there's like sparks and burnt parts of my ship. But I can jump right into it and finish my mission.
And what blew you up was like an NPC ship, right?
Yes, this is all NPC stuff. So I'm doing a smuggling mission. So one thing you start to unlock later in the game is the smuggling sub-game or advanced game. They give you an office in port. There's two smuggling operations that you get to partake in. One is for White Skull rum, and the second is for Purple Lotus opium. And the way the smuggling operation works, in fact, I'll go back because I think I have the office. I show the office here. Where's my office? You get, here's me making the White Skull rum. You have to go and get the ingredients. So you have to go and hunt down sugarcane. And that you need to get from either plundering ports or getting it off of ships. And then in your office, which upgraded itself cosmetically, even as I played the story, which I thought was kind of cool too. You don't do a lot in there, but there's a couple different stations, and one of them is to make the rum. And as you upgrade your ability to make the rum more efficiently, then you can make it quicker and you can make more of it. So you go and hunt down the sugarcane, you bring it back, you bring it to your distillery, you make the rum. Then you go to the order board, and the order board says, hey, this port wants you to bring them some rum. So then I said, okay, well, I'm gonna go bring them some rum. Well, once you start doing that, like bringing this load of rum to this other port, then those NPC ships, they know that you've got rum and they come after you. So you're out on the open sea then sailing, and this is what happened to me. So I'm out there trying to deliver my cargo, and at first these ships are following me. You can just outrun them. You don't have to fight them. And in fact, in a fast ship, it's not too hard to outrun other ships. But I said, that's no fun. These guys, you forget it, man. I'm coming after you.
Because you had been drinking some of that rum.
Apparently. And I drank enough of it that I didn't realize that this was actually a pretty powerful ship. and I wasn't watching my health. And there's ways to heal your ship on the fly. And I didn't do that, and I blew up. Lesson learned, respawn at sea. I'm still in range. I can just sail back. I could have run away. But you want to go pick up your stuff. So I left my rum, floating in my shipwreck. So you want to go back and get that. But I could have that's what the little green treasure mark is over there. I could have just sailed by and grabbed that and bugged out. But nah, I'm going to finish this guy off. So without even going and getting the rest of my stuff, I just blew this guy out of the water. Because I wasn't damaged enough where it was an issue. So then I blew up the rogue ships that were chasing me, went and got the rest of my cargo, brought it to port, finished my little smuggling mission, and that gives you other special currency. So now the kind of things I'm talking about now is, just sort of what I wanted to get to be able to talk about, which is you don't get by playing the beta, and a lot of the reviews didn't really see when they're just scratching the surface of the game is there's actually quite a bit of depth out there. Because I've seen some of the discussion boards where people are saying, man, it's just a bunch of fetch quests and picking up coconuts, floating in the water. This is the dumbest game ever. And I say to them, oh, well, did you join the helm and take over a port to increase the refining efficiency, to gather, more pieces of 8 to unlock the end game ship and fight the sea monster? And those kind of people who put that kind of comment out there would have looked at you and went, the what to the what now? Because
I did not. What's your point?
right, it's still worst game ever because I'm in the race to have the hottest of hot take of anybody, and I'm winning the race because I have the hot take, the hottest. But that's where the game does start to get interesting. I think that's where a lot of people, and if you look at the people who actually like to play this game and the streamers and the YouTubers that are having fun, that's where they talk about having a lot of fun is with some of this end game stuff. Are there flaws with the game? Yeah. In fact, it almost feels kind of early access-y to me. And they had a really cool dev stream where they sort of almost like said, here are the things we're working on. Here's the quality of life things we think that should need to go into it. And here's where we want to do more. And you are going to get bigger ships and we are going to expand the map. And, here's where we're not sure how this is working yet. Pretty open and honest and pretty cool. But almost to the point of the kind of discussion you'd expect from like an early access dev team. So the fact that it's $70 right now to buy in, and there will be seasons and stuff. And I don't think you have to buy into the seasons yet, but cash shop and that kind of thing, that chafes people right now. And I don't think that's completely out of line to chafe. But, and to the title of this episode, I didn't pay $70 for the game. I paid $18 for 1 month of Ubisoft Premium, and I get full access. I got early access. I get to play as much as I want, and if I want to keep going, I could pay another $18 for next month. And I get to play Prince of Persia, and I get to play all the Far Cries, and I get to play all the Assassin's Creeds. And if I want to, even though I already paid for it, I could play that new Avatar game. Games as a service for me in this case made a ton of sense and was a really fun way to play this and made me feel like I was getting a ton of value. So I wanted to get to that point enough where I was talking enough about what I was doing like in the end game, because I'm getting the feel of it and I'm having fun with these bigger ships, and I wanted to get the bigger ship, and that's why I bought it. Bought the premium pass to get to play it, because I felt that draw. Will I keep playing this for months on end? Do I think it has to be my only game for the next 10 years to call it a fun game? No, I probably won't play it for months on end. In fact, I'm playing a lot of Nightingale right now on top of Star Wars: The Old Republic. Might I go back to it? Maybe, but there's a lot of games that I'm playing right now. So maybe I won't, but I might. And am I still feeling, even like watching these videos of me like run around this port and this ship, and I know there's a bigger ship, the Brigantine, that I kind of want to get, and that has better weapons. I'm kind of feeling the draw, Mm-hmm. So to me, because I'm feeling the draw and I wanted to pay money after the beta, I think it's a perfectly fine game. Does it do everything that Assassin's Creed Black Flag or that Sea of Thieves that's been around for 10 years, even though people are saying, no, well, now Sea of Thieves is dead. Sea of Thieves is like a more cartoony version, almost like a Fortnite version of this game. Does it do everything that those games do? No. Is it supposed to? No. For $70, should it do more? Maybe. Will it do more? Yes.
I can't stop thinking about how difficult it is to do any complex endeavor for 10 years, and especially a game when the technology is changing the way it's changing, and also the player base is changing, and what people like is changing, and culture is changing.
Yeah.
You must every day when you're a developer running a game running something that's multi-year like this, be thinking, is this where we change this aspect now, or do we hang with this one?
Yeah.
And so I can see how you could work on a game for 10 years and release something that still feels, pre-releasey.
Yes. And this game, to be fair, did have, this is second,
It's
third
had
hand.
it's had some restarts.
Yeah, restarts, basically, over those 10 years.
Yeah.
It was developed first and mainly out of the Singapore studio. And that had, it was developed by them, but then they had I think some of the French Ubisoft studio coming in to try to direct the game, and then a different director would come in and blow up everything that the first director did. And again, this is all sort of secondhand stuff, but I think some of that's, switching design, switching directors, coming off the legacy of Black Flag, but not being Black Flag, and trying to decide what the game is going to be. Yes, you could say it's been in development for 10 years, but it probably hasn't. It's probably only been in development for the last couple years in its final form, 3, 4, 5 years at most. And as such, again, got it to a point where it probably, if it only got to its final design approach in the last couple years, it probably should have been released as early access and not $70, and would have been not criticized as much as it is. But is it still fun? Is it a good foundation? It's done in Unreal, and it's looking really good.
Maybe the $70 was
Unreal.
was the Ubisoft decision to sort of drive the service. Well,
I don't know. I know they spent tons and tons of money on it. So the comment from the CEO, I think, that everybody criticized again because they misunderstood it and had to have their hot take out there. He called it a quadruple A game. And people misunderstand what AAA, quadruple A, what he meant by that. What a AAA game is not mean it's good or bad. It has no bearing on the quality or how fun the game is or what the reception is or how many people are playing it. It's the budget and approach to developing the game. And what he's meant by quadruple A game is, for better or for worse, we spent a lot of money developing this game. And we couldn't just put it out there for $25 because it's at that it's like up to this quadruple A status of money we spent on this thing. And some parts of the game are beautiful, and you can definitely tell, and it's worth it. I think where it lacks, the parts that don't feel like a AAA game, is just the depth of the gameplay just yet. But you can see the bones are there, the skull and the bones, and hope that it's going to get there. So, but fun. But I had fun with it. It did what I wanted. I got my value out of it. My $18. I definitely got my $18 worth out of it. And I would have been streaming it Monday night, except I'm happy that they're working on stuff. There was a couple hot fixes, bug fixes that they wanted to put in. I don't know why. At the time I had my Monday night stream scheduled, 8 p.m. was the exact time they decided they need to take down the servers for an hour, but they did. And then I didn't get to stream it. But I've got a bunch of video out there. I will answer any questions that anyone else has if you want to hear more about it. But there's plenty of really good other videos out there as well of people that are doing some of the more advanced end game stuff where there's PvPvE. I need to take over a port, but other people are competing with me to take over this port. And if I take over the port, my smuggling operation gets a lot better. That kind of stuff is where the end game ends up. Fighting the sea creatures, fighting one of the big pirate bosses that's like an end game boss in the game right now. All that kind of stuff. Good stuff to sort of look out to see what's there when you get to it. And to hear soon, and I think it's in the next week or so, what the season is going to do, how the seasons are going to work. And I think they're going to change a lot even after the first season. But season 1 is starting next week. And that's going to change a lot of the smuggling operation, some of the PvE around smuggling, and definitely the PvP around the smuggling operations and those ports and the destinations and why you're doing some of this and the rewards that you'll get for doing it. So there. All right. Well, that was pretty fun. And that's Skull and Bones. And next week, probably, Nightingale, but we've been playing some other stuff still too, haven't we, Sema? I want to hear about that.
It looks like meat's back on our menu, boy. No way, God. Finally. I kind of like the mango bread.
Jackie is saying that I'm not a streamer. Yes, instead of streaming Skull and Bones, I streamed No Man's Sky for 5 hours on Monday night, but I'm not a streamer. And then I streamed last night because Nightingale was new and I felt like having friends along for the ride.
Yeah. I mean, that's it right there.
Friend, that's what it's for. That's why I like doing it, because it's friends along for the ride. And people were chiming in and saying, I forgot who was doing it. A couple people. I think Forster was in there. Forster was saying, hey, if you do this and this and this in Nightingale, if you go to your companion and you take all their gear, this new companion that you just got, it's slightly better than yours. So I stripped down my companion completely, got her down to her knickers, and took all her gear, and then gave her some gear so she could cover up. Sorry, Belle, and her name is Belle.
So were you wearing a dress then at that point, or?
No, I guess no, it wasn't, and it's not. It's all kind of gender neutral gear, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like all Victorian age kind of thing. And then I had to start making my own gear, because that's part of, building all your crafting stations and upgrading those. And then the gear that I had to make myself, even though it was even slightly better than Belle's gear, was, again, it was like the crappy low tier clown suit. So we'll talk about that next week. I will talk about No Man's Sky in a second, and Star Wars, what I've been doing in there, the Old Republic. What have you been doing, though, Sema? I've been yapping. I'm going to take a sip of my tea.
So in Wrath Classic, I'll start with that.
Mm-hmm.
We had a little event, which our raid leader...
Player made.
Put a lot of work into. Well, I guess we all did in a way, because what we did was everybody started a new character, and we leveled up to level 17 in Wrath. And I guess I should back up and say, we, through a random roll, that's how we got what roles we were going to play in these groups, whether you're going to be a tank, a healer, or a DPS. So I was assigned DPS, and I rolled up a hunter and leveled my hunter to level 17. Then everyone who did that with their various roles, and then they level up to level 17. And then our boss made up these little packets of white gear that he ran around and bought from vendors. And so we all wore white gear. We were allowed to have one roll of bandages, no healing pots or mana pots, no enchants or glyphs or anything like that. And then we had a race, so we ran Ragefire Chasm, Wailing Caverns, and Dead Mines.
Interesting.
And then the winner, I forgot what the winner got.
Did you say you had to only use the white gear? Or...
Well, if we were allowed to equip anything that dropped in the dungeons, but yes, we only had white gear to start with.
Okay.
And that did make a big difference. And our raid leader was watching us on 2 different streams, and it was really interesting because he said that we tended to wipe in the same spots, and they weren't necessarily boss fights, but the same like trash pulls both teams wiped on. And it really made a difference who got the this and that weapon that drops in Dead Mines first or earliest or whatever. And we ran afoul of the
cookies cleaver
we ran afoul of the dungeon finder, because we were going to use that to get over to Dead Mines, but for some reason the dungeon finder wasn't working, and so we ended up like in the queue for too long, and so we had to do some band-aid stuff in the middle where our raid leader and another person who had the role of watching ran over to the Dead Mines and then summoned from the stone. But so we're going to do this again. We're going to continue to level our characters to 24. We did some the raid leader, this is Shrimp. Shrimp did some like thinking about how to tweak it and how to get around the dungeon fighter thing, and he gave everyone the option of do they want to stay with their role and class or do they want to do something different. So I wanted to stay as a hunter, which means I'm going to be DPS. So now my goal or my job is to level this hunter to 24. To level, I can use my heirloom gear. I can use whatever advantages I want to get to level, but then I'm just going to have to take it off and put whatever gear is the gear for the next one. But it was really fun because it was like when you run when you run these early dungeons, there's kind of this like, I've run it a million times before and I don't want to run it a million again, but just running it one time with playing a class that you don't normally play, like I had my buttons all set up perfectly and then I forgot how I had set them up. So because I don't normally play hunter, I thought I had set them up perfectly, and then I found myself in the first dungeon wanting to do different things than I thought I was going to want to do. And yeah, it was just really fresh and fun, and I really appreciate that Shrimp put so much work into it, and I look forward to the next one.
Yeah, that does sound really fun and a really good way to approach it.
Yeah. So in WoW, basically I have to those are my tasks right now. I have to deliver that hunter to 24, and my and I'm also still working on my druid that I'm leveling for Cataclysm. That druid is 79 now. I just have to get to 80. But now they've been talking about gearing up before Cataclysm. I don't know, whatever. I don't
Isn't
want.
Kata delayed? Didn't I hear Kata got delayed?
Yeah, it did get delayed to the fall. So I feel like I have plenty of time to make it to 80.
Yeah. Yeah.
Except for that they kind of want to start doing. Shrimp is thinking of another activity to do similar to this one, but with level 80 characters. So I think I will just get her to 80 so that I
Probably a
can.
good idea. Or you know what would
Yeah.
happen is the week before Kata
Right.
would come, you'd still be 79.
Right.
No matter when it is. It gets
Right.
delayed. It comes out next week, or it comes out in the fall, or it comes out in 5 years.
That's right.
3 days before launch, Sema goes, oops.
Gotta finish leveling. But even then, I think there's probably going to be a pre-Kata event. Just level in that, right? I don't know. Anyway, but where I've been spending a lot of time in Star Wars: The Old Republic, because I am still just sort of in love with my life on Shea Vizsla. So I have
Yeah.
right now 3 characters to 80, which means that when we make conquest as a guild, they get 400 or 500 tech fragments. And I'm really after tech fragments right now because that's how I can upgrade my implant, which is what I'm working on. So all of my characters are kind of making conquest combinations and tech frags in service of getting my implants done
Yeah.
on my my shadow. And then once I get both of those done, it becomes much cheaper to do them for subsequent characters. So I'm working towards that goal. We had a Friday night event on Shea Vizsla this past Friday, and we did it on the imp side. So we do have a flagship now on both sides. So when you make conquest, you're going to get the guild rewards too.
Sure.
So we're doing like small and mid. I think we might have done, we might do large on the pub side. But I mean, it's all the same characters, all the same players on pub and imp. So we try not to overload people by.
And I see new players, or I see existing guildies every day. More characters are being added over there on Shea
Yeah.
Vizsla, which
Yeah.
I think is really amazing. It says a lot about 2 things. One, that you don't feel the sting of the latency, and 2, that the idea of the fresh servers is just so fun for so many people.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that is
And you're
cool.
right. I don't feel a sting. Like when I first started out, I did, and I made some little adjustments to my graphic settings and stuff, and and I pay attention to what I have running in the background, because in my case, in my setup, if I have too much stuff running in the background, I get just regular Windows slow down a little bit, and also graphical. But yeah, so I've been having fun with that. And then we're still doing on Starforge our ops team, and we've been making slow, steady progress on Lady Dominique, who's the last boss in R4, and I think we're going to get her. I don't think it's going to be the next time we try, but I definitely see light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. Yeah. We are getting pretty good at some of the hard parts of that fight. I was just playing the SWTOR. I just wanted to call it out because SWTOR's got a good video on Fresh Start on Shea Vizsla, if you're sort of interested in what people are doing there.
And it's funny, I thought when I first started there that I couldn't wait till I had 2 million credits because I was going to buy Rocket Boost right away, and I haven't bought instant quick travel or Rocket Boost yet. I've actually
Really?
found that I really, really, really spend the credits on crafting just because I want to get to a point where I can make invasion forces.
Right.
And yeah, and I spend money on opening areas of my stronghold because it makes it easier, slowly but surely, easier to finish conquest.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do when Galactic Season 6 happens, because I think that's going to draw me back to Starforge, because I don't know that I want to do Galactic Seasons on 2 different servers. So
Right.
we'll stay tuned.
Well,
We'll see.
We'll see.
Maybe I will. I know a lot of people do.
See, look at these guys. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
This is the Lady Dominique fight, and this is about the time where, and we're trying a bunch of different strategies, and we're doing better and better and better. We're getting much further in a bunch of these. We're refining our strategy where we're going to DPS her down more in the first couple phases, which we were not doing previously. We sort of got turned on to that by other people. We were pushing more quickly into the third phase where things get a lot harder, and spending way too long in those, third, fourth phases where all the chain knockback stuff happens. But then still, the chain knockback is a key mechanic that is causing some issues. And then all of these ads, just management of these ads. This is still a hard mode version of this fight, though.
The title says story mode.
Oh, it does say story mode, but look, there's a shield on the attractor.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was like a hard mode thing, but I don't see them having to fight the dog. Did they fight the dog? No, they're doing the. So this is the phase where you could extend it, where you're having to blow up the 4 generators. 2 of the generators get blown up by droids. We're good on that. You can actually extend that a little bit and let one. No, there they blew up an attractor. Maybe it's at the end. The attractors. Maybe the burn phase. The attractors get shielded, and you just have to burn her down. That might be it. We haven't gotten to that final. That's that. Yeah, that was like the final 10%, 15% burn phase. But yeah, so it does just a lot of things start compounding there at the end. The chain knockback is one compounding factor, and then just the amount of ads and like the Reapers who are stunning you while all of these other effects are going on. You can get some bad luck too. Like if the Reaper stuns the wrong person who's standing in the wrong place with a chain knockback, then the whole group goes flying. And you don't have a lot of wiggle room on a lot of that. Makes it difficult. But we are making a ton of progress, and I'm happy with it. I think that's a fun thing to think about with any of these fights in any MMO. I've got myself to a point with this where I'm happy with the taking the long road, like we used to do old school with the old fights in World of Warcraft, where I've spent 3 months working on a single boss 2 nights a week. 2 nights a week, 3 nights a week, raiding on a single boss for 3 months. Back in the Warlords of Drain, or no, that was sort of like, that was Burning Crusade when I was doing a lot of that. This, every time we make a little bit of progress now, I'm happy. We start out the night by going into vet mode, nightmare mode, Nephra, and we're probably going to start doing nightmare mode Dash Road. As long as we can get it done quick and still have enough time to be playing with Lady Dominique, because we only play 2 hours a week.
Right.
And there's no lockouts to carry forward like there are in other games that people are familiar with that. So
we have to do the whole instance and get to, we go Nightmare, Nephra, then we do this whole instance to get to Lady Dom, and then we have like a half an hour at the end of the evening.
do the IP daily robot boss. We do the dog, who Jackie really loves the dog. We do Kevin with his Nyrot. And then Lady Dom. So yeah, but I'm fine with it. I'm not bored of it. I think once in a while people get a little fatigued by it. You'll hear it when somebody says, do we want to do something else tonight? And then I say, no.
No. I thought you were going to say, you hear it when Corley says, do we want to try one more time or call it? And I'm like, what do you mean try it one more time? It's 5 till 11.
Sema already recalled to her stronghold and logged off. What with the what now?
It's not bedtime.
Yeah, but we're doing good. We're doing good. I like it. So we'll keep up with that. Anything else? Anything else been on your menu?
No.
All right, we'll finish up with my menu. Still doing some Ark. What did I do in Ark? So one of the end game things you do in Ark, which is frustrating but pretty low key. I'll like log in once a day or once every 2 days for a little bit and hatch eggs. And I've got like a whole fleet of dinos set up to lay eggs. I've got like 32 of one kind of dino that lay eggs every day. Because when you hatch those eggs, there's like a couple % chance that you'll get what's called a mutation, which means one of the stats can get like a +2. One mutation is +2, and you can stack those up. You can get 10 of those, and then you got +20 to that stat. And then that starts to become interesting. It starts to become a big deal. But it's only like a 1% chance. So you need to hatch a bunch of eggs and then hope that where you had the +8, that you get a +10. Well, the last 2 days, I got none. Today now I'm up to +10 on the melee stat that I need. So I've been doing that. And one of the reasons you want to do that is there are 3 endgame bosses. I think I've talked about this in the past. I did solo another of the endgame bosses this past week. I soloed the Alpha Spider. 2 of my T-Rexes died during the fight, but only 2 out of the 19 T-Rexes and 1 Uranus that I brought, who's like sort of like a buff boss. So hard. These are much harder. And so I had very geared, very good dinos. Not all of them, you put a saddle on the dino and not all of them like had the best saddle. And that's why 2 of them died. But it was fun to do this. Now I've done of the 3 guardian bosses and then the end boss, the overseer. I've done 2 of the 3 bosses, soloed it on alpha. And then as a group, we did the overseer on the lower tier, the gamma tier, and we did the dragon on the gamma tier. We still need to do alpha dragon and then alpha overseer. And that's kind of, then you've like done everything there is to do. You can still grind out some of the endgame currency to get some of the high, like the laser beams that I was talking about. And I'm having fun a little bit with that too. And you can build and you can hunt down more dinosaurs and new dinosaurs. And there's little events. But there's going to be a new map in another month or 2, which is called the Center. And you can take some of your stuff and like teleport, sort of like in-game lore. You can teleport to that new map. We're probably going to be relatively low key. We might do an alpha, the crew that's in there on the new Overlords AIE group. We might do an alpha dino, an alpha dragon kill, and an alpha overseer kill. But otherwise, we're going to be relatively low key. I think people are only logging in a couple times a week until the new map comes out, and then it'll be more fun to do the new map. So a little bit on Ark still, and then Sean Sean Murray. Did we mention it last? Yeah, we did because it got announced last week, but we didn't see the expedition because it didn't come out until the weekend. Sean Murray, Hello Games. Sean is amazing, and Hello Games is amazing. So we did talk about this a little bit last week, the communication plan. So we were talking with Chris Schmidt, who's a game dev, and I think this is brilliant. Not everybody can pull it off and do it as well as they're doing it. And the only reason they can do it is because they've been doing it for so long now and doing so well with delivering over and over for free for 10 years now. Free content updates to No Man's Sky over and over and over. But the way Sean announces a new expansion, and this is the No Man's Sky Omega expedition. I'll get a little video playing here while we're talking about it, and I'll show my end game of me doing it. But the way Sean announces it is in about the week prior, and it's not exactly a week. Sometimes it's 2 weeks. Sometimes it's a little less than a week. He'll tweet. That's all he does, and he'll tweet a single emoji. That's his communication plan, and that's it. This tweet can hold one emoji, and that's it. That's all he does. A single emoji. And that's it's a hint because this was the Omega edition and it was the Omega symbol. But like sometimes it'll be something that has to do with like a feature that's being added in that update and expansion. There's not always an expedition. Sometimes it's new bases. So maybe his emoji might be a little house. A little house, and then people will speculate, what is it going to be? But because it's not like a roadmap and it's not like dates ahead of time that might need to get pushed back, and it's not like here's the 10 things, so we can only do 8 of the things, and it's a single emoji, and then a thing comes out, and everybody is happy. Once in a while, they'll make a change that people will not be happy with because they're trying to advance the game as well. They're changing some of the core features. But I love that approach, and I've really been happy with the game. This latest expedition, the expeditions are their kind of almost like a battle pass. There are 5 stages, and within each of the stages, there are usually 10 or so, 8 to 10 objectives. And as you complete each objective, and they're usually you kind of do them in order. You don't have to do them all in order. And some you might do ahead of time just because it's convenient to you, or like on a planet that you're on. Or like here, an asteroid field. One of the objectives was shoot 50 asteroids. And I think that was like a stage 3 objective. Well, I'm flying through asteroids anyway. I'm still not even done with stage 1, but I'm going to shoot 50 asteroids. Because as you complete each objective, you get rewarded. This is a brand new save. You get rewarded with either gear or parts or unlocking things that you need for the next phase. So you don't have to do like the fresh new game experience where you would have to like organically unlock all of this stuff and like find the in-game currency to go to the space station to unlock the pattern. They'll just give you the pattern as the reward. So it does 2 things. One, it does a really good job for any new players of leading you through whatever they want to show you in that expedition. And this expedition is much more focused around sort of like the new player, just the core gameplay elements. So it's really fun that way. But then they'll throw in some of the new things too. And like one of the expeditions, they did a whole bunch of new stuff where you could do all of these new things with your freighter, which is you only get one. You get tons of little ships to fly, but you get like one freighter, which is like a big dreadnought base where you can land your ships in it and you can build a base inside of it. So in that expedition, you started in a freighter, in a brand new freighter, and all of the objectives were about the freighter. This one is more baseline. It's get your ship, unlock your ship, do some things on a planet, build a little base, make your base a little bit bigger. That's a second objective. Make some cookies. So this is you can see in this video, you had to make cookies. So you had to like, maybe as a new player, you might not even realize there's like the cooking mini game in the game. So it has you make some cookies. And you realize why you might be doing that. You realize how to do that. You realize the equipment you need to do that. And you go and do it. But they help you along. They guide you. I did the whole expedition. I had so much fun with it that when Skull and Bones did maintenance on Monday when I was about to stream it, I flipped over and said, all right, then fine. I'm going to do No Man's Sky and I'm going to start from scratch and do it again.
Yeah.
And I got about halfway through in about 3 hours on Monday night. Because each time I replay an expedition, and I've played most of the expeditions at least 2 or 3 times, but each time I replay, I'll get a little faster. So I could see even doing this objective again, probably even a couple more times, because it's fun, and I love kind of like racing and getting faster and faster. And in fact, I'll probably start taking notes about exactly how much materials I need so that I don't, which I like to do, spend too much time gathering too many materials. Oh, a piece of candy. I'm going to pick that thing up. Oh, this is a nice little mining opportunity. I'm going to stand here and mine for an extra 10 minutes. Well, that's wasted 10 minutes that you don't need in this expedition. But very cool that way. And then the other thing I like with No Man's Sky, which maybe I'll do on the side, maybe this weekend, is this is my favorite VR game is No Man's Sky. And expeditions are a great way to play it in VR. Oh, see the staff that this guy is carrying? That's one of the rewards. And it's one of the new things that came with the last expansion update. They give you one as the stage 3 reward, and it's awesome. So see, they just make it fun. They make it really fun, and it's free. So it's all free. You just do whatever you want, if you want to or not. They make it fun. They give you little rewards. Oh, and they did another really cool thing this expedition, which was when you're done, and I don't know all the parameters around it or what you can, and if there's stuff you still can't take, but they made it so you can take stuff that you earned in the expedition, or like this cool weapon that you got. I don't know if you can do the weapons, or maybe you can only do the ships or what, but you can package it up and you can send it off to your main save. Because each of the saves is almost like a single-player game. In fact, you save it locally on your drive. You get to go off and visit with other players, and you can play multiplayer, like co-op, and play with other people. But the things you save are yours locally. And in fact, there's save editors where if you want to just give yourself infinite money and the best ships, go ahead, fine. Whatever. It's not that kind of game where you're like competing against other people in that way. So they let you do that. But so then being able to take things and bring them back to your main save, that's cool. That's fun. And that's a new thing that they added in this expedition also. So they get you to that. And then this ship that they are showing here at the end, that's the end reward of that you get at the very end. In fact, I think I have my video of me doing it. But yeah, so I had a lot of fun with that this week too. I would, as I said, I would recommend it as a game. And I know they've talked about it. They never expected it to sort of be this popular for this long. And I think they probably, if it wasn't this popular, they would have moved on. This is me. And this is like the robot parts that I customized cosmetically for myself. This is me talking to the Atlas AI at the end. But they would not have done it this long if people didn't love it as much as they do. And the fact that their sales just on the base product, it must be like new kids growing up that have never, or new people that are still hearing about it for the first time.
Yeah.
They're still doing like tens of millions in sales per year, and it's increased the last couple of years. 10-year-old game, but they're doing a great job.
Is
But
it 10
soon,
years old? Wow.
yeah, because I tweeted at Sean. I tweeted at Sean earlier over the weekend, and I was like, Sean, 10 years now, 10 years of free updates, and you have no way for me to give you money. Solve this, figure this out. Do you have like a Venmo or a PayPal? It's just, it blows my mind. So great job by them. There is no way to give them more money besides what I paid them 10 years ago to play the game. Is it 10? I think it's 10 years now. I think that's what I put in my tweet, and I looked it up. But anyway, it's fun that way, and I recommend it. But soon they will have their new game available, and then we can all get lost in that. And that is Light No Fire. Can't
Yes.
wait. Oh, this was the new ship that you got for the final reward. Look, it's got this weird, brand new hover effect that they've never had before. And it's a pretty slick looking little fighter ship. Cool. So that's it. Anything else on your end? Do you want to play Nightingale next week, Sema?
Not sure. Maybe.
Or do you want to ride along in the stream on Monday night? 'Cause
Yes,
that's
for
the
sure.
other.
I kind of wish that we could start sort of like in the middle on Nightingale. Like I don't want to go through that.
Mhm.
Like you said, you do like playing that part, but I don't want to.
I'm glad I do, because that's kind of core to the way a lot of
Right,
these games work,
and if
and
you're
I don't mind
right,
starting over.
and if you're playing, I don't mind it if you're going to play the game, but just playing like 5 different ones of them and doing
But to
each
try
one
to
starts.
test it out, and now I want to see this one to like to
Yeah,
have to do the 10 hours sometimes or longer of like picking up sticks in yet another one just to sort of like experience the main gameplay loop. You're right. That's not optimal. But yeah, so we'll see. I'm still gonna definitely play a bunch of Nightingale this week. See how far I can get. I like getting a little bit further before we talk about it, so this is gonna be good. Which is what I did with Skull and Bones.
I did.
I
I
did the
did
end
play a
game.
little bit of Dorf Romantic, which is a game that one of the games that Chris Schmidt, who we talked to last week, that
Yes,
he's been playing. So I'm looking forward to getting into that a little bit more. I'll talk about that more in the future, but it's very cute so far.
excellent. Yeah, that did look awesome. All right, so catch us on Monday probably for that. Catch us next week to hear about Nightingale and what else we've been playing. And that is it for today. Thanks everybody for coming and hanging out.
Yeah.
As always, our feed and subscribe links, newoverlords.com. You can get everything there. We're on YouTube. We're on all the social networks. Discord, newoverlords.com/Discord. Just jump in there. We'd love to chat with you. Catch us in all those places. Catch us on the stream and the podcast next week. We'll keep you up to date on everything going on. And I think with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.
Oops. This button.